Hello there. If you're a big fan of hegemony, or you're just one of those weirdos flooding the internet with AI images of British streets you'd like to reclaim that actually never existed, I've got more bad news. This podcast has been further colonised. Last time, 1/4 of the podcast was Scouse. Admittedly, only Jim Radcliffe's interpretation of factions or fractions could render that colonisation, but this time it's actually for real, because I am the only person here who is not a certified young person, and we could be in trouble. It's a Cream of Manchester double debut for Fergus and Will. Our guest is Declan Rogers, an actual, genuine, bona fide, real YouTuber who knows how to press the right buttons and everything. In preparation, I've been learning young people speak, but I've abandoned it because it felt borderline racist coming from someone in there. It's Declan. Villa fans know you from Rogers Reports. What do you see as the point in a YouTube channel dedicated specifically to Aston Villa?
You know what it is? I think we're one of those clubs. We're a sleeping giant, I would say. That was always the phrase that was lobbed around, right, when we were down in the Championship. And there isn't really much representation for Villa on YouTube. So that's just to bring Villa fans together, because there wasn't much going on. And now there's a lot of talk around the club. So just to give people somewhere to talk. And that's what it's all about, just the community. And Villa fans being able to speak to each other freely, openly, and as often as they want.
Purely altruistic.
You know, I'll try.
Hi, Declan. It's great to be on the show, by the way, for the first time. Thanks, Andrew. So I guess my first question, especially as someone who's a bit of a younger fan of United as well, how do you kind of get that, I guess, authenticity or yeah, that kudos amongst the older fans? Because obviously there's a little bit of trepidation, isn't there, from older fans to kind of get involved in this kind of digital content.
Yeah, it's a weird, because my audience is mainly older gentlemen and women as well. Like, I think my main demographic is I think it's the 35 to 49 one. Maybe, I think especially like on social media, YouTube and stuff nowadays, like if you're shouty and you just say outrageous things, for you guys, the one that always comes to mind would be Mark Goldbridge. That's, I think, what the younger people want nowadays, because it's all TikTok, 3-second attention span, shout, get a clip and move on. Whereas I prefer to remain as level-headed as possible, although the last couple of weeks for Villa have tested me on that, and just sort of have a good conversation. When I was younger, on holiday, this is a really weird analogy to bring it back to. When I was younger on holiday, my parents would be like, "Where's he gone?" And I'll just always be chatting to 60, 70-year-olds around the pool, playing bowls with them or something. That's just, I like talking to people who can hold a conversation for more than 5 minutes.
You'd be happy to.
I know you just meant. Sorry, Fergus, go on.
That's all good. I was just saying, Andrew will be happy to hear that that Declan likes someone who can hold a conversation.
Yeah, it was funny you mentioned Mark Goldbridge, because I'm on the United faithful. He's quite unpopular. I don't know, what do older Villa fans make of your content, if you've had any interactions with them?
To be fair, yeah, all pretty positive, to be fair. Luckily, I'm not at the level of when you're getting that many views, you're bound to hype yourself up above your baseline quite significantly to sort of get that attention.
Pretty sure it happened before.
But yeah, all of mine's been very, very positive. Luckily for me, I haven't been able to experience too many people going at me yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Do you think that's the case, though? How is it? It's different in each. We had a very, very strong fanzine culture at United, and I think it led to some of the negativity, because basically people looked at that Arsenal fans TV and thought, thank God we're not like them. And then what they saw was people who realised you could make money out of Manchester United trying to do it at United, and then you find that actually probably any group of fans can come across that way if you target the certain group of fans, because United have more of every type of fan than everyone else, and so that means they're going to end up with more knobheads, and so you will have this kind of engagement, and some of those people presumably are prepared to suffer the advertising or pay for the subscription or whatever it is. So the thing is, it's led to a toxicity for any kind of, people associate fan cams at United as a really bad thing, because the people in at the start of it at United did stuff like that. They are exactly as you're talking about. Whereas actually, if it had been more closely associated with fanzines, because we've got 3 that were established in the late 80s, it probably would have been a different story. But are you saying that at Villa people don't really have that connotation, or is it just that because you've got an older audience, it's fine with you?
I think partly, yeah, the audience that I do have is just like, it's not, I genuinely don't think there's many young people that watch my stuff at all. But across all of the board, with all of the Villa fan channels out there, thankfully, we don't have a Mark Goldbridge yet. I'm sure it's coming.
What, someone who supports Walsall and then just thinks he can make some money out of Villa? I can't imagine it.
Luckily, it's coming though. I'm sure it's coming. When people realise the amount of money that can be in YouTube if you are just a bit outrageous, it's coming. I'm sure. Give it 5-10 years, there'll be one for every channel, every team.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Declan. I mean, just to kind of move us on to talk about, I guess, why we're here, the fact that we're playing you guys at the weekend. I guess to kind of keep us on the same topic a little bit, you guys have kind of fallen off slightly form-wise in the last sort of, I guess, since winter, really. How are the match going, Villa fans, feeling about Emery?
It's really funny. I posted a video recently because I done a watch along of one of the games. It was a Chelsea game. Wrong game to pick, given the result. But there was a lot of discourse in the chat around Emery, and I think he's earned a lot of favour with Villa fans because of what he's done. And I said it in the video that I'd done. He's outperformed what everyone expected of him from the first second he walked through the door to the second that we're talking right now, the finishes that we've achieved. But there was the awful bit at the start of this season, didn't score in 5-6 games, didn't win. We looked genuinely awful on the ball, and that's snuck back in the last sort of 5-6 games. And there were whispers, and there are certain little small packets of fans that are thinking, if we don't get Champions League this season, if we don't win the Europa League, do we need someone else to take us forward? But it was an outrageous reaction to that video where the majority of people, 99% of people, are very much Emery's a god, and if we can keep him for 20 years, we will. He'll get us through it. We just need to get through this patch. But it's almost kind of, I'm almost kind of glad this game is at Old Trafford. I'm not, because I still think you guys are going to tear us limb from limb. But Villa Park is a very quiet, nervy place right now. And if we don't play well in the first 5 minutes, the fans, I think, are very... here we go again, because of what we've seen over the last couple of months.
It's strange that, Declan, because I know that when we're playing Villa, I'm usually afraid to go to Villa Park, whereas I usually feel quite comfortable at Old Trafford against Villa. It's a bit of a strange place for us to go, Villa Park.
And you know what? It's really, really funny that you mention that, because obviously under Emery, it's been known as a fortress. We went on the outrageous run when we qualified for the Champions League, epitomised by the week in December. We beat City at Villa Park on the Wednesday, and then Arsenal came on the Saturday or the Sunday, and we beat them at Villa Park as well. We genuinely thought we were unbeatable there for a solid 6 months, and we were. And we had the sort of 12-game win streak at Villa Park as well this season, or like going from last season onto this season, and unbeaten. But the reason we mentioned just before we started recording the Lille game we've just played yesterday, we were like, we have to win that game because Villa isn't a fortress anymore. In terms of Villa Park, I think we've lost our last 3 games in a row there. And I mean, Chelsea absolutely turned us over, but it's not the fortress it once was.
Well, if you can contain your excitement at a Villa fan thinking that they're going to get torn limb from limb in this game. Exciting times here as well, as our Substack feed has just been launched. We've got some talented writers. We are always looking for more of those, so you can reach us if you want on creamofmanchester1878@gmail.com if you've got anything to say, and you can find us on the socials too. And a lot of Villa fans, as we record this, will still be making their way back from Lille. I've been there watching United a couple of times. From memory, you can get there on the train. It was great. But you must fancy your chances in that competition, even if you think in the league it's gone a bit west.
Yeah, I think you have to, purely because Emery's won it 4 times. And Emery's main success over his entire career has been in European cup competitions rather than league competitions.
Yeah, we know, yeah.
I say, if he can manage to get Alex Moreno to win the Europa League, anything is possible. So I think we are at that Lille game. We were panicking going into that first leg. I think everyone thought, because Lille's a hard draw. It's a massive stadium, 50,000 seater. They beat us there in the Conference League, although we did manage to do them on penalties in the end, but they won that leg 2-1, and they were all over us in that leg. It was a deflected Matty Cash goal that got us back into it. I think now we've got that, we're probably confident we can etch out a result at Villa Park. But our path to the final isn't going to be easy. It's going to probably be Roma next. You've got Lyon on the other side of the draw, who under their new manager, I don't think they've lost in about 15 games. So there is. And I do wonder if we're going to start prioritising that competition. Because, well, yeah, I think it's probably too early now. And Emery always says that the Premier League is number one. He'll always say that.
You've got to target trophies. There's no trophy for third or fourth place, so I wouldn't worry about it.
I think the Champions League prize money is probably worth more than a trophy to every club nowadays.
All right. Well, you take that on an open top bus then.
To be fair, if it gets us out of the PSR trouble that we're in, we probably bloody will parade the money around in a briefcase or something like WWE.
People say there's no romance in football now.
I would still fancy us though in the Europa League, I think.
I know you said that, Emery's a bit of a specialist in the competition. Do you think that because you have such a high chance of winning it with having him and you have probably a favourable squad in it, do you think it softens the blow a little bit from missing out on Champions League last year? Or Old Trafford on the last day of the season as well?
I think the way that it happened, no, purely because, I'm sure maybe you guys have different opinions. I think the Rodgers goal should have stood. He didn't have it in both of his hands. So for me, it was a goal. But, it was one of those ones where immediately everyone was like, that's it, we're done. And then a couple of weeks go past and you think Villa haven't won a trophy in God knows how long. And we have the man to win us a Europa League. We're in the Europa League. We've got a good squad. So I think that's probably softened the blow for a bit until we had the summer that we did in terms of transfers. And it all came out that the reason we had that summer is because we missed out on Champions League. And, our main signing was Gassond. So it kind of brought us back down to reality straight away.
I wanted to ask you, United lads, did you actually enjoy watching that game at the end of the season? Because that was days after probably, I don't know about you lot, but probably the worst day of supporting United that I've ever had.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. I went to Ireland immediately after that final and I watched the game in Ireland and it was just like, well, at least this season is over. I thought Villa were very unlucky in the one or two decisions, but they were, not to rehash the past, but I thought they were really poor on the day and I couldn't believe how bad they'd got, given how impressive they'd been in other parts. It's obviously a wildly inconsistent team, which seems to be the Emery way, but he's got obviously moments of genius, and he had Villarreal had the Indian sign over United for some time, and in that final, he outwitted. We were talking about it earlier on the group, and our man Pete Molyneux was saying, he got all his substitutions bang right at the right time, and United team containing, the likes of Cavani and just couldn't do it. Much stronger team on paper, and he's obviously got something. He's obviously really got some talent there, but something just seems to miss whatever it is wherever he goes. But anyway, if you win that competition, it's brilliant, right? I mean, winning a trophy is amazing.
Yeah, it would be, I think right now, if you asked, 1,000 Villa fans, would you rather win the Europa League and finish 7th or not win the Europa League and finish in the top 5? We're all taking the trophy.
That's an easy question to answer, though, because you're qualifying for the Champions League either way.
Exactly. We'll all take it. I think deep down it's what we all want, but I personally wouldn't want us to do what Spurs done and just start throwing the league for it, because it's a risk. Knockout football is the ultimate risk, and if we can just get points somehow, and we've done it under Emery before, it's one of the main things that's worrying about the dips of form that we've had this season is even when we've been absolutely awful before, he'll still average you 2 points a game. He just gets results when he needs to, and that's slightly going now, but I'd still rather we just go for it in the Premier League, because knockout football's such a gamble. I don't like gambling.
Villa throw the league every year anyway, don't worry about it. This competition, though, last thing on it drains teams for weekends, right?
Yeah, and it's been an issue for us since, the season after Emery came in, when we qualified for the Conference League. If you look at our results post-Europe, they're never great.
Did you want to ask something about the way Villa fans behave in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because obviously English fans in general have quite a big stigma around them from Europe. They're not seen in high regard by many other fans. But how do you think Villa's fans have been when they've been abroad? Has it been quite a calm time, or have you had any trouble while they've been over there?
It's been all right, to be fair. I haven't heard of any. I mean, the main discourse was at Villa Park, wasn't it, with the Tel Aviv game and their fans getting banned. And we had a few issues in the Champions League. I can't remember what team it was, but I think they had pretty much the whole of the police of England outside Villa Park because they were really trying to mess around in that game. A good one. I watch him. I think he's brilliant. Is Villa on tour? He vlogs all of the European games, goes to every single one, and it looks like it is just a really decent time. I think we've got lucky with some of the teams that we've played. We've managed to avoid some of the problem children of European football. But yeah, it seems absolutely fine. We don't have too many issues.
Yeah, because I know the West Ham game. Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
do you know the West Ham game a few years ago against Alkmaar? I mean, the fans basically jumped in their way and mauled them almost. I mean, it can be quite dangerous depending on who you get drawn against in that European competition.
Yeah, I mean, there's the only couple of incidents. Again, to be fair, speaking of the Lille game, they were just the police though were tear gassing the Villa fans before the game, trying to get into the stadium. It's stuff like that, but I never hear of anything too bad. I know there's been some awful stuff when English teams have gone abroad though.
French police are not equipped to handle games. It's as simple as that. They need training better, and we've said it for decades. Cream of Manchester, 1878, if you want to get in touch with us. And this week's podcast is sponsored by Beavers. It was to be an insurance company, let me check. Churchill's, but that's now officially been replaced by Animals. It will cause some manufactured outrage online, and we're very much here for that. So you talked about Villa's atmosphere before. Will, you were saying you always fancy United at Old Trafford and not so much at Villa Park. A lot of that is because Villa really get themselves up for United, don't they? In the way that United, with the best will in the world, don't get up for Villa.
Honestly, that is very interesting to hear you say that, because we hate playing United because we always think we play awful against you.
But
So
I'm
it's the
sorry,
complete
what I mean
opposite.
to say is there's a more of a perceived rivalry that's a bit one way, because a lot of teams, Newcastle would be the best example recently, have decided that they've got this big rivalry with United that, like, we don't feel at all. And the big one historically around here is Bolton Wanderers, who absolutely hate Manchester United. Stoke City are similar. And you look at them, you just think, like, you don't come up in conversation. Now, that's not quite the case with Villa, because Villa, especially historically, are a really big club. But it always feels like you go there and it feels like a big deal to Villa. And when you watch Villa against other teams on TV, it doesn't feel like that.
I think that the interesting thing with Villa, and it might be playing into what you're mentioning there, is that we tend to play, our level seems to be dictated by who we're playing. So we play a lot better against better teams. Like when we're playing those lower teams, and it's been killed a bit by the pricing this season. The Leeds game was somehow deemed a Cat A game, so it was like £80 for a ticket, which is, a lot of fans didn't think that was right. I don't think it is either, because it's not a Cat A game. If they're going to price it like that, I don't think the Leeds should be a Cat A game. United, Cities, teams like that, that's a Cat A game. That's a big game. So that's kind of hindered that a bit as well. To be fair, in terms of perceived rivalries, the weirdest one that I've seen, Spurs seem to be forcing this thing with us because they nipped us to Conor Gallagher. That seems to be, like, on your point, like, their fans seem to be proper getting at us and saying, know your place in the food chain and stuff like that. But I haven't heard too much about sort of United being sort of forced as that in and amongst the Villa circles that I speak to. A lot of people are fearful playing United because we don't think we play well against you ever.
United
To get
keep
into
lending new
that-
players. Go on.
To get into that kind of, I guess, United-Villa rivalry, I think the rivalry, in some ways, is manifested in the shared players that we've got over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, weirdly. I mean, the most prominent one and most recent one is Jadon Sancho, isn't he? Not that United fans, or, I'm speaking for the other lads in the call here, but I wasn't particularly disappointed to see Jadon Sancho leave in the summer. If I'm honest, midway through the season, I'd slightly forgotten that he was still a Manchester United player. What have Villa fans kind of thought of Jadon Sancho, a player who's been completely unable to find any consistency anywhere he's been over the last sort of 4 or 5 years?
I think the probably the first 10, 15 games, we were thinking, it's another awful loan deal. And it was obviously paired with the Harvey Elliott loan deal, and everyone knows what's happened with that one. And then Monchi, who signed both of them on loan, left a week or two after, and we were like, But actually, he'll be missed in this game because he's actually found I think he's starting to really find his feet in that Emery system. It was really evident against Lille that he's sort of understanding the Emery style of play a lot more now. Probably come a little bit too late in the season, to be honest. But actually, he's probably been one of our better and more consistent performers over the last 5 games.
Yeah, another player that you had as well was Rashford from us last season. I mean, he played relatively well, I think. A lot of Villa fans are saying, just based off the fact that he benched Ollie Watkins for a lot of that second half of the season. I don't know how you felt about Rashford and whether you'd want to keep him for this season.
If we would have qualified for Champions League, I have no doubt we would have signed him. I think Emery absolutely adored him. The fans absolutely adored him, and he was brilliant for us. So yeah, I think if we would have qualified for Champions League, him and Asensio would have been Villa players this season, I think.
Well, okay. Well, they're not. Any final business, lads? Anything else we need to bring up? I hate doing score predictions, but on this occasion, like I'll be interested to know how you think it's going to go, you lot. I never get involved in them, except for betting purposes. But I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. But I do feel that Thursday is not a natural day to play football, and that teams tend to tire in the last half hour of these Sunday games afterwards.
Do you think that's slightly influenced by the fact that we pretty much wrote off the second half of the season last year?
Just every time United have been in that competition and had to play on Thursdays, apart from the fact that it stops me playing 5-a-side, it's hugely annoying. So you have to play on a Sunday, so you never see a Saturday game when you're in that competition. You have to play on either a Sunday or a Monday, and usually it's a Sunday because you're often playing the next week. And I just think there's something psychological about footballers coming home from a place, it's turned midnight, it's Friday when they get back from a midweek game, and I just think there's something really weird that it does to them. And I think there must be all kinds of people in football working on this, but I've never there's never been a team that I can think of who haven't suffered to some extent. Admittedly, I've done almost no work on this, but it just seems to me that it happens a lot.
Here's a little case study for you lads, though. In the last couple of weeks, I mean, we played midweek teams a couple of times, and I think, well, I mean, Crystal Palace 2 weeks ago, I thought started the game so much better than we did, compared to maybe how you'd expect them to, given that they played on the Thursday.
It's similar to us, though, isn't it? Similar to us, though, against Newcastle. I thought how we played against Newcastle, the energy had dropped so much just because we played in the midweek beforehand as well. I think you could see a massive difference because they weren't used to it.
Yeah, United are not used to 2 games a week. But I don't know. Do you feel you've suffered, though, Declan?
Yeah, especially with all the injuries that we have. I mean, we effectively don't have a midfield. Our midfield is Onana and Luiz, who have had to play 80-plus minutes the last 6, 7 games in a row, including another 60, 70, 80 on Thursday against Lille. And they'll be the starting pivot against United as well. We look leggy without midweek games, so God knows it is going to be one of those. I think after 60 minutes, you'll have a lot of joy.
Yeah, 60 minutes is as long as our pivot stays on the pitch anyway. Right, thanks to Will Ferguson, our Aston Villa guest, Declan Rogers, and you can follow him on Rogers Report on YouTube. New editions of Red News and United We Stand out for this game as well, which means it's definitely going to rain. So if you are going, do stop and buy one, because these fanzines have been crucial in the development of supporter culture down the years. Among the main reasons that United's away support has been so impressive, and it's really difficult at the minute because they don't have they've got so few games to sell at. And they are exceptional value, a bit like us, because you've had this for free. Mind the trams.